Hello everyone, I'm going to tell you about how to be celebrated on all the important days. Now for me personally, I am celebrated exactly the way I want to be every single Mother's Day. And why is that? Well, there are some specific reasons why that happens, and I'm going to outline that today. But I want to start with you. What are the most important days to you? Is it Mother's Day? Is it your birthday? Is it Christmas? Is it Valentine's Day? Is it your anniversaries? Drop that in the comments because we're all unique here in what our specific desires are, and we don't want to make assumptions that everybody is the same because we are not. Okay, so I have some notes over here I'm just glancing at. Let's talk about when it doesn't go well. Were you disappointed on Mother's Day? Have there been many years when you felt forgotten, like an afterthought, like your partner didn't really care about you, like they were being lazy, like they didn't want to put any effort in? All these interpretations of like, oh, that's why I'm not getting what I want, add to the pain of this thing not working out like you wanted. So let's talk about your solution. The quickest and easiest way to get what you need is to ask for it. And I know that sounds really simple, and there is more to it than just asking. So let me tell you how I do it. When I thought about Mother's Day, I realized I really needed some things. And then if I didn't get them, I was going to be really disappointed. So I went ahead of time to my husband and I said, hey, I want to share with you what I really want for Mother's Day. Is this a good time? And he says, yeah, okay. And I say, what I really want is a break from all the mother jobs. I don't want to do any cooking or cleaning or parenting or managing of the schedule. I want to be able to come and go as I please all through that day. And I want to know that all the jobs are going to get done that I would normally do. Because it's hard to do those things all the time, and I would feel appreciated and cared for if I could really let go of that load completely. And I want to spend time with the kids, but I don't want to be everyone together because I can find that overwhelming sometimes. I want to spend quality time with each child individually, doing whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it, so that I can really enjoy being a mom with them and experience that deep connection and intimacy with each of them individually. Because I do love being a mom, and sometimes I don't enjoy it that much when everybody's all together and the kids are fighting and I have to referee stuff. So I would really appreciate it, and I'd be really happy if that's how I could spend my day. And normally you buy me like a hanging basket of flowers, and I love that. And this year I'd like to pick out the ones because I like shopping at the greenhouse and picking out the pieces. And if you would put it together for me and put it in the basket, that would be perfect. That's it. I share all that, and then I say, I would love that. I would be so happy and relaxed. I would feel wonderful if I received those things. Does that sound like a lot to you? Is that something you've ever done before or considered doing before? Does it seem against the rules to have to ask? Well, there's a lot of stuff coming up for us when we try to express our desires. But I'm going to break this down for you so you can do this in your own life, okay? I want you to think about what's the next big day, what's the next big holiday, or whatever that you're anticipating, and perhaps with a little bit of dread of how's this going to go, is it going to be a disappointment? So the first thing you do is you get ahead of it. You don't wait for it to happen and be disappointed, then talk about your disappointment. So number one is proactive. You sit down. Right now, think about how would you like it to go on that day? What are the elements? What are the things? I mean, some people want gifts. Some people want quality time. Some people want words of affirmation in some kind of card or note. We really have to be clear and specific about what our personal desires are. So that's number 3 is clear and specific. But you do it ahead of time. You give yourself lots of lead time. Number 2 is context and content. That's where you say, hey, I want to talk about my birthday. That's the context. Is this a good time? That's the consent. You're letting him know what the conversation is and asking him if this is a good time for him to listen. Pro tip, when you just say things randomly without doing this step, half the time he will completely forget what you said. He might not even hear what you said. So doing the context and content is a tip you can use with all situations, every time you want to be heard. Because otherwise it's liable that he was like, distracted, he was in his head about something else, he was focusing on something else, and you're going to feel like you poured your heart out and you asked, but he's not going to experience that way because he won't have registered. And then the third thing is being clear and specific. You see how it wasn't just, I want a break on Mother's Day? Like, what does a break mean? If what you said is open to interpretation, you have not been clear and specific enough. You want to define in objective detail, in non-disputable ways, what it would look like for you to receive the stuff you want. So for me, it's, I don't want to do any of the jobs. I say what the jobs are. That's because I'm the primary caregiver in our home. So, he might not be as aware what those specific things are as me, right? He will do parts of them, but he often doesn't take over the whole day. I got down into the nitty-gritty of what I wanted. I itemized it. This is critical. We cannot be vague about what we want. It will lead to confusion and then it won't happen. And then the number 4 is that I had light and calm energy. So you heard I wasn't like, oh, can you please do something? Like, at least take the kids. At least, like, I wasn't like burdened by having to ask him. I wasn't blaming him for not knowing. I didn't come with a bunch of heaviness about it. It was simply, this is what I would love. And I could be light like that because I trust him to do it. It conveys trust when you have light and calm energy. I also trust that he wants to please me, that he's not just, careless and thoughtless. And then the 5th step, which is very important and you don't want to miss it, is let him know what it would provide for you. Okay, we miss this one all the times as women because we think it's obvious. It's not obvious to him, which is I would feel happy, I would feel appreciated, I would have energy, I would be relaxed. I like to point out that I would get to anticipate it because often they don't realize how much anxiety we feel as these days approach and we don't know what's going to happen and we don't want to bug him or nag him or ask because now it's coming and it becomes this whole thing. Whereas if we are told, yes, I'm going to do this thing, then all of a sudden we can just enjoy that whole waiting period and we can amplify that joy, right? But we need to describe these things. So that's what would it provide for me? So I'm just putting down my notes here. So this ability to communicate proactively and in this particular energy with the specificity and what it would provide is absolutely critical to being celebrated, to getting the royal treatment. Like, we have to know our desires and then be able to express them effectively. But when you hear that, you might have a lot of resistance come up. Like, well, why do I have to do all that? That seems like a lot of like front end labor, or like, he's not even going to listen anyways. And like, I don't know, like you might just feel like, ooh, I don't want to, right? That resistance is telling you what the bigger problem is. The problem is not that he doesn't do the things on the days. That's a superficial problem or a tip of the iceberg problem. The problem is that you don't have emotional safety. The bigger problem is that you feel scared or angry or some kind of resistance to expressing yourself, to talking to him about what you want. So the mindset shift I would like you to make as part of becoming this woman, this happily married woman who is celebrated, is instead of thinking, he doesn't listen, he doesn't care, he's lazy, he doesn't really like me. Like, these are all the judgments and assumptions we usually make when a man has not celebrated us the way we want him to. I want you to shift that conversation, which is keeping you stuck and not getting you anywhere, to looking at yourself in the mirror and going, what part of me doesn't feel worthy to be celebrated? Is there a part of me that's kind of like, ooh, am I asking too much? Am I a little bit uncomfortable when I actually am celebrated? Am I able to receive all of that? And then the other side of that coin is, what part of me feels entitled to getting exactly what I want without having to ever say it? Because that's a different kind of shadow where we just go, well, why should I have to? And shouldn't I just get it? And it's like, where is that entitlement coming from? What makes you think you're entitled to someone doing exactly what you want? Another question you could ask is, why don't I feel safe making requests? Why does it scare me so much to speak up and to just say what I desire? And then the fourth one would be on his side. What history has there been between us that he doesn't want to listen, or he's afraid to listen, or he thinks it's going to be a problem, or he doesn't want to try? Because there's a lot of stuff happening that contributes to this lack of emotional safety. Now, these questions may feel confusing and overwhelming because it's not easy to look at yourself from the outside when you're on the inside, right? That's normal. We get trapped in these loops of interpretation where we go, oh yeah, that's always how it is. That's how he is. That's what happens. But those are just your interpretations. That's just your perspective. That's not the reality, okay? So if you want to figure out what's at the root of the disappointments and understand what's behind the scenes, go ahead and book a chat with me. I would love to talk to you about it. Okay, so I'm going to recap for you what you need to do if you want to be celebrated in the way that you desire. Number one, you want to be proactive. That means you want to think about it ahead of time. You want to figure out what it is you need, okay? You don't wait and then react after the fact. Number two, when you go to communicate this with your man, you want to give context and ask for consent. This is what we're going to talk about. Is this a good time? Number three, you want to be crystal clear and specific. Spell it out in detail, in objective detail. Number four, you want to have light and calm energy. You don't want to be crunched up and stressed and nervous about it. And the most important one is, what would it provide for me? Make sure you finish this up by saying, can I tell you what it would do for me if this happened? Can I share with you what it would provide? And then express from your heart. I would be so happy. I would be so excited. I'd be so proud. I'd feel appreciated. I'd feel energetic. I'd feel elated. Like, don't downplay how meaningful it would be for you to be celebrated in this way. Because I know for myself, and for most of the women I talk to, it would absolutely make our year if our husband, the way he did our anniversary, knocked it out of the park. It would be something that we could be riding on for months and months and months. And if he knew what a powerful impact it could have, it will definitely change the way he approaches those days. So if you are tired of the emotional roller coaster and you want to be a happily married woman who breaks these patterns of just feeling unappreciated and neglected and put last, you can book my free connection assessment where I'll help you get to the root of it and give you your next best steps. This is the kind of stuff that will completely change your marriage and change your life. So if you're kind of like, oh my God, I don't want to do this anymore, it's so frustrating, reach out, book that call. If this was valuable for you, please like it, please share, invite your friends. And if there's any topics you'd like me to discuss next time, send me a message. So good to be here with you today. Have a wonderful day.